are here today because it's an important day, it's an important campaign. We have affirmed that as the ANC, among others, not just do we condemn, law enforcement must arrest those that are implicated.
Immediately.
That's why
immediately.
That's why Mbalula was right that people must hit hard if they go to other people's houses. When they go to his house, he finishes them. So that is important. For those that will be asking questions, there's a request, a number of broadcasters are crossing live, so they'll request you to stand up. I think there's the visuals are not clear if you ask questions. Ranjane is seated. I know you'll ask a question. Welcome. I also have my took. Stella?
Thank you, Comrade Zizi, and good afternoon to all. We are sitting here to give a presentation on what we discussed as the Commission on Communications and Battle of Ideas, of which all of you know that we're all participating in a contested terrain, and that is something that we appreciate as the ANC, which is why the first thing that we had to focus on as we discuss or deliberate on the Battle of Ideas was the fact that we need to intensify training on political communication, which we said all leaders and members of the ANC, including its employees, must undergo that political training workshop. The second one was to make sure that the political school is institutionalized in order for the ANC to be hegemonic in the society. I said earlier, this is about the battle of ideas, which means therefore we've got to make sure that we utilize all the space and platforms, but we need capable people who are able to carry out the message. Because as the Commission, again, we agree that the credibility of any message depends on the credibility of the messenger, which is why it is important that we capacitate all our soldiers. We therefore, again, as the Commission, recommended that it is important that as the ANC we focus on the message that we say one message, many voices. Because as the leader of the society, people must know that you are consistent in the message that you are giving. But most importantly, we've got to make sure that as we articulate all the policies, everybody has a clear understanding, because the ANC is the hope and future of South Africans. We then agree that let that be centralized, that the ANC communication machinery, after it has been trained, let it develop messages that will help all other soldiers to go and drive out the message to the public. We then agree that, of course, we have to make sure that we utilize the small commercial and the community media to drive our message, because not every message can be carried out through the big media. There are those that can afford to pay the papers. There are those that are not at home when you broadcast. Therefore, we have a responsibility to make sure that those that are there where people are staying also get supported and we reach out. We then agreed again on government communications, that it is important that we centralize government communications under the GCIS. But most importantly, that we emphasized on is the discipline of the spokespersons in government and ensuring that they function under the government communication framework. The Commission further recommended that GCIS be located in the presidency so that it gets that status, that it gets to tell and instruct in terms of the messaging that we are driving as government, to say this is the highest office in the land, and if we are saying communication is crucial, let it be given the status that it deserves. We know that GCIS has been earlier on under the presidency, but we are saying we have also noted that as though that happened, we experienced challenges, but now it must be taken back so that we have political champions who are able to say we have spoken as government and this is the message. The last one on battle of ideas is to ensure again that now, as we spoke of right of freedom of speech and the duty to act responsibly as ANC members, we're saying, as I said earlier, our members must be consistent, and most importantly, the ANC must not suppress voices of its members, but the ANC must train the leaders on political communication and make sure that as the ANC, we say what represents our people, we take decisions that are favorable to our people as the constituency, and then again develop strategies and creative ideas on communication platforms on how to empower our young people to make sure that they drive the political communication that is relevant to the society that we are leading. On ICTs, again, we said there's a need to recognize the sector that it has a significant impact on GDP and therefore everything that we undertake, including budgeting and the services, must be rolled out. Broadband that we talk about must take that into consideration, and therefore the research and development must be beefed up in terms of the funding and the capacitation of the responsible units. We note again that there's the complaint about most people who say there's high cost to communicate, and therefore we said ICASA must take charge in terms of ensuring that it regulates appropriately and make sure that our people have access to data, and we need to transform the ICT sector, and we're not apologetic about that because we still believe that the economy, especially in the ICT sector, remains in the hands of the few, and that needs to be changed so that the majority of the country can participate effectively and meaningfully, not just as editors, not just as CEOs, but let them benefit and be involved in the entire value chain in the ICT space. And make sure that we come up with measures that seek to empower the small business, including having set aside to make sure that young-owned companies are given assistance, not preference, but assistance in terms of ensuring that we build their capacity so that they're able to participate and compete with the big guys, of course, taking into consideration funding, as I've said. The transformation of CETA, which is our entity that drives e-government as Department of Telecommunications now. It is important that CETA does not just become a procurer, but also empowers and makes sure that there's capacity at manufacturing level, at applications development and software development. On the postal services and post bank, we said there's a need to fast track the licensing of the post bank. President Zuma, when you opened on the first day of the policy conference, announced that SASSA has to make sure that the distribution of the grants is done through the post bank. Therefore, we need to make sure that the bank is capable to deliver and therefore meet the requirements and the expectations of South Africa. On broadcasting, we then again said there is a high consideration that we do not only focus on SABC when we talk of the quotas that are there, when we talk of language, everybody that is involved in broadcasting, because we want to break the monopoly that is in broadcasting. But most importantly, we've got to beef up the capacity of SABC. We've got to make sure that as we communicate with our people through the broadcasting platforms, we take into consideration the issue of language, because our message must reach the target. For now, those are the issues that we spoke on, and Comrade Jackson, as the chairperson, through you, Comrade Zizi, will then add.
Thank you, colleagues.
Through me, you can now speak.
Oh, I see. This is what I did to him at the commission. I told him that I'm in charge here. You know, by the way, the one important issue that we have flagged under Battle of Ideas is that the ANC exists because of the people of South Africa. That's the essence of our existence. In fact, we are called, our founders called this wonderful movement a parliament of our people. So whatever it is that we do, whatever policies that we put on the public platform, those policies must first and foremost speak to and resonate with our people. That's what we're saying at the African National Congress in this policy conference. And we are saying everything that we therefore communicate must be premised on policies and decisions that resonate with the people of South Africa, because we are a parliament of our people. That's what we're born for. Even what we take to be implemented by our government must also first and foremost be in the interest of our people. It should not be detract from what are the needs and aspirations of our people. That's what the strategy and tactics of the ANC says. Having said that, we are saying our disadvantage in the battle of ideas is that our message seems not to speak about what I'm talking about now. Our message seems to concentrate on our internal weaknesses, our subjective weaknesses. This disunity that we have talked about in the past 2 days, these factions that we have talked about in the past 2 days. Therefore, as a movement, we must move with speed to deal with all these subjective weaknesses that we have at this present conjuncture, so that our message can then speak to what we are, to what we were born to do, to what our policies are meant to achieve: change lives of our people for the better. And that's what we need to do. And this is what has been recognized by the policy conference, that in this battle of ideas, our unity and dealing with whatever issues that disunite us is very paramount, so that the actual message of the ANC can get out there to the broader public. And this is what we have emphasized in the commission. This is what we have emphasized in the plenary here. That, by the way, the ANC has never been about itself. It has never been. The ANC has always been about the black people who were disadvantaged, Africans in particular. It's there in the strategic text of the ANC. That has always been the vision of the African National Congress. How do we change the lives of those who were in the periphery during the colonialism of a special type, during colonial rule? How do we change their lives for the better? And as we change their lives for the better, how then do our policies speak to this? Unfortunately, the data at the moment and the narrative at the moment, the negative narrative, is in the main also coming from our subjective weaknesses. We therefore need to deal with those so that we can participate meaningfully in the contentious terrain of the battle of ideas. That's one issue that we just want to put aside. The second issue on ICT, there is no question, ICT is an important sector in the economy. There is talk of the fourth industrial revolution that is with us now. We are told that in the next 20 to 30, 40 years, the types of jobs we have in the country will be distinctly not the same as we have today on occasion of the fourth industrial revolution. How do we massify the people's skills today to take advantage of what is a reality, the fourth industrial revolution? And again, how do we ensure that we all have the same understanding of what the fourth industrial revolution entails? Therefore, in the document of the ANC, we say there must be a commission established in the ANC, with our government, the private sector, so that as a country, we have a paper that speaks to everybody. What is this fourth industrial revolution? It should not be only these ICT fundis only that have this understanding, because this fourth industrial revolution is going to affect everyone and anyone and every work area and every school area, whether higher education or lower education. How do we prepare our syllabi in relation to this? Therefore, this commission that we say must be formed must engage with these broad areas of work that will be impacted upon by the fourth industrial revolution, and make sure that South Africa is prepared for it. Because if we don't, we will be left aside. We will be the losers if we don't prepare ourselves for this fourth industrial revolution. Other prepared nations will be the winners. We as South Africa will be the losers. Even others who will want to invest, they would like to see whether whatever avenues we have in the country are those avenues in tandem with the fourth industrial revolution. Therefore, this commission is very important. Broadcasting is the last one. we need to protect and ensure that free-to-air television lives and is able to live and get premium content. And it doesn't play a second fiddle role to pay television and subscription television. As to how government does that, we leave that to government. But we are saying as ANC to government, you can't wait until 2018 to migrate. Your 2018 is your last day. If you have not migrated by 2018, in fact, those who will be in charge of whatever area of migration, probably the ANC might say, maybe we need to do something about you as a deployee. We have lost opportunity from 2015, by the way. We should have migrated. We are now in 2017. We are still losing the various opportunities that are benefits of digital environment. We are therefore saying to our government, if you have got to migrate today, do so. Don't wait to what the document is saying 2018 December. If you must migrate today, do so, because it is in the interest of the country. But more importantly, in the interest of all free-to-air television stations, and in particular, our public broadcaster, for you to migrate. Do so immediately. On print, we are still agreeing that you play an important role, print media. Even in this age of convergence, you play an important role. Therefore, your means of accountability is important. How do we hold you accountable? With this role, you can in fact regime change. You can make governments fall. You can make institutions fall because of the power that you hold. It's not by non-thinking that you are called the fourth estate. How do we ensure that you act responsibly as a people? That you don't abuse this power that you hold in your hands as print media. What therefore should be the regulatory environment that determines your accountability? All we have said as ANC is that, please, can Parliament with immediate effect look at what should be the best mechanism to hold you accountable? Is your regulatory environment as it exists now promoting this accountability, or do we need another mechanism to hold you accountable as print media? And having said everything, in all the value chain of print, broadcast, and ICT, we are saying we must transform the ownership of the means of production. We can't have any industry in this country in the hands of only a blessed male white few. There are majority black people in this country, and all industries, including industries in the ICT sector, in the broadcasting sector, in the print media sector, must represent South Africa as is today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jackson. I know there are a number of prominent individuals who have been campaigning for Data Must Fall. I saw one of them here. So when you're talking about ICT transformation, I saw Tipotash somewhere.
Yes.
So I'm sure he has got some interesting questions. I started the Berg. Griselda, Clement, I can't see, looks like Karima Brown. It's you? Yeah? Okay.
Good afternoon, Griselda Lewis from SABC Television News. Was there any discussion in the commissions about whether those who have brought the SABC into the crisis that we're seeing today should face criminal charges? And the second issue is on the media tribunal. Was that discussed as well within the commission?
Thanks, Clement Manyatela from Eyewitness News. Was there any discussion around ANC leaders who speak in different voices, be it on radical economic transformation, expropriation of land without compensation, white monopoly capital? We've been hearing different views from ANC leaders. Was that discussed, and how do you plan on curbing this from continuing? My second question is on the regulation of the media. You delved a bit into it, but we should be formulated, or are you leaving that to Parliament? My last question is on the various broadcasting houses. Did you discuss any concerns that you have about, say, ENCA, SABC, or ANN7? I know Zizi has spoken and released, or the ANC has released a number of statements about ANN7, calling it a mouthpiece of factions in the organization. Did you discuss any of these channels? Thanks.
Hi, Karima Brown, ENCA. The Black First Land First movement claims that its intimidation of journalists is on behalf of the president because he is black, and behalf of the Gupta family because they are black. I just want to know if the ANC commission, rather the commission on the Battle of Ideas, discussed whether it is important for the ANC president to disown the actions of the Black First Land First organization, because they are claiming to be his supporters. The second question I wanted to ask was, if this is supposed to be the battle of ideas, why are ANC members who disagree with each other threatened with disciplinary action in a policy conference where there is supposed to be as many views as possible ventilated? How is the Commission dealing with internal democracy within the ANC so that people are able to express themselves freely without feeling that some stuff are off limits? And then on the question of the media tribunal, it isn't clear what exactly the ANC is proposing. I just want to get a comprehensive update. Are you actually still calling for the tribunal? And then just lastly, on the issue of the SIU and the SABC, I see the President signed the proclamation on life Isidimen. Is the President also going to soon be signing the proclamation on an investigation that enables the SIU to pursue those who have been fingered in the wrongdoing by the public protector at the broadcaster, the public broadcaster that is?
Thank you, Karima. On this note, I would like to bring Pete with your question, man.
Is Pete still here?
I love your standard question. I want to bring you on this note to that question.
Where is Pete?
Oh.
And just noting, Zizi, that you are wearing the media freedom band, so thank you for that. Mr. Mtembu, Peter de Tooy from Huffington Post, what motivated the Commission to again put if it is the Media Appeals Tribunal on the table? What was the reason why it was put on the table? Is there, since the last conference, a deterioration in the ANC's relationship with the media and the way that we cover the country? What was the reason for that? Thanks.
Now you disappointed me, you know. There was an expectation for all of us. Ranjani?
My name is Ranjani Mansami from Tiso Blackstar. Firstly, on the issue of media freedom...
Would you mind to stand up, please? There was a plea from the broadcasters that they would like you to stand. Oh. I know you're too short, but...
Okay. On the issue of media freedom, I didn't hear any unequivocal pronouncement from you on this issue. We really appreciate that you stand in solidarity with us on this issue of media intimidation. But what is the ANC going to do to protect us and protect our industry? Secondly, on your comments, the Media Appeals Tribunal has been in your discussion documents for some time, and you feel that we need to be regulated. But with all due respect, there were attempts from within the ANC, from within the Tuli House, to run a black ops operation to distort the national discourse ahead of the local government elections last year. So the regulation, works two ways. I mean, if you want to regulate us, I think you should also be able to look at what the ANC itself is doing, both through government communications, where we get harassed by government spokespeople, and then I think that has contributed quite a lot to this environment where it's a free-for-all in the media, where everybody feels entitled to be able to attack us, irrespective of the freedoms we enjoy. And finally, you have taken resolutions on issues such as digital migration and such at your previous conferences at the NGC. These were ignored by a deployee in the communications ministry. And what are you going to do to make sure that these are implemented now? Thank you.
Thabo and
Thank you very much. My name is Thabo Shoda from How TV. Just a few questions briefly. Did the commissions look at the infrastructure and legislation that is to expand and create access of frequency, particularly for licensees, potential licensees who may want to participate in national radio space on a commercial level? Because over the years it's been the issue of frequency legislation and expansion of that infrastructure. And 23 years or more into democracy, that hasn't found resonance in the broadcasting space. That's one. And you spoke about transforming means of production and distribution, particularly within the media fraternity. One of the stumbling blocks is funding for, again, potential licensees. Did the Commission consider funding for those who would want to participate yet are stifled by economic means to expand voices of different kinds? And unfolding support for community media, particularly radio stations, community media radio stations. Most of them, between 3 to 5 years, they would collapse because there isn't adequate support, and your money would have gone to the drain through MDDA and other forms of funding because there was no consistent support, and therefore communities are denied the opportunity of having their voices. And lastly, the issue, I know the ANC Youth League in the previous National Policy Conference had proposed that Radio 2000 be turned into a national youth radio station. Was that found in the discussions, and how far is that? Thanks.
Peter Malamani, KFM. Chair, I just want to find out as to, has the Commission discussed resolutions on media transformation? There are a lot of, black companies, production companies, media companies, that needs to be supported by the bigger guys. So what says the Commission with regard to that?
Manelis Dubasa from the SABC. Mine is very simple, really. Is the ANC satisfied about the role you are playing, for example? Do you feel that you are responsible for your internal problems?
So you're asking two questions. Malas and
Okay, my name is Muntlanyan from SABC. I would like to know as to whether the Commission did deliberate on the issue of foreign companies, PR companies like the Bell Pottinger, coming on board by some family business companies in South Africa. Speaking on behalf of black South Africans, which is it's unfortunate. Thanks, that's my question. Which to me is unfortunate, if I can put it there. Thank you.
okay, that was the last question on Bell Pottinger. That was the last question. I hope you understood it. You can now.
Thank you, colleagues. On the first one that Griselda asked, whether we have discussed the SABC challenges, the governance challenges, and therefore the outcomes of whatever findings that have been discovered, and therefore the action that must be taken. Of course, we looked into the capacity and the challenges that are faced by the broadcaster, and therefore we recommended that the government must take responsibility after having finalized the process. And of course, if the findings then dictate that one must be charged, we expect the board and all those that are responsible to action based on the findings. So yes, we are concerned about SABC, and we did discuss. The CEOs, the CFOs, everybody that has been involved if there is any criminal justification activity that you have undertaken, we are saying we don't want corruption. We do not want anyone who come and undermines our provide credible services to all. Therefore, if you are involved in that, we are saying an action must be taken against you.
Why you are still there, just so that I don't come back to this question. But the best way of avoiding what we have been through is to get the best brains. That's it, unless you say we don't have. Because in any Achilles' heels has been not get emphasizing, and that's what the commission emphasized, and that's what is in our report, that in any of our state-owned entities, including SABC, we must get the best brains to be at the helm.
Thank you again, Comrade Jackson. On ANC leaders who speak on different voices, and how do we plan to deal with that? Earlier on, when I made the presentations, I emphasized the importance of coherence and consistency, because we have seen that this contributes negatively towards the society. But most importantly, what we said we're going to do, because we've got to come up with the media policies, the ANC. We are finalizing that both all platforms of media and social media to say what is it that needs to be communicated, but it becomes a concern again when members contradict each other, and we have cautioned against that the ANC will have to take any action only when members contradict each other on policies and principles and values of the ANC. On personal issues, the ANC cannot take responsibilities. Like now the question that has just been asked about the BLF claiming to defend the president of the ANC. I don't know if they're defending him as the president of the ANC or of the country. I assume they will defend him as the president of the country, because as the ANC we are here to defend our president. But then again, we are saying if the president feels that it's important for himself to distance himself from that, let him do so. But as the ANC, we know how to call for action, we know how to defend, and how do we do it. We do not have any ally called the BLF. We have ANC and our list, and those are the only people that can speak on behalf of the ANC. Any discussions on broadcasting houses? Are we happy with ANCA, AN7 and all that? Yes, we did discuss that when we discussed ownership. Because as we were saying, we're talking of battle of ideas, therefore we've got to know when you give this story, what informs you, what is your thinking, and who is behind the mic. Besides seeing all these black faces and some few white faces, who runs the show, who calls the shots? That's very important, because that determines, if you know that this is Stella and this is how she does things, then you know what to expect from Stella. When Mutama appears, you know what to expect. That's the reality. We all know ANN7 is owned by the Guptas. That we all know. But what we are saying also, we need to also know who owns the ANC and other broadcasting houses. Do we have a problem with how media functions or operates, or the role of media currently? We do not have any problem. Hence, we emphasize that as the ANC first, we've got to capacitate our members, including leaders, on how to communicate the content that we have provided to you. Because of the disunity amongst ourselves, then we tend to take information to ourselves. But at times, you exploit that information for your own agenda that also make sure that you leave us divided. And then that is why we are questioning against the ANC members. Let them understand what is it that can be communicated publicly and cannot be communicated publicly, and how we communicate that. Of course, not shying away from the fact that we've got to represent the ANC that must appeal to all South Africans. And when we speak, we must make sure that we unite everybody. We don't speak on behalf of a particular grouping. Members of the ANC that were threatened for speaking differently in their commissions, I haven't heard of any member that has been threatened. I know there were concerns when some presentations were made. I haven't had a threat, unfortunately. I don't know if Comrade Jackson has heard about that. We did not deliberate on that, so I can't provide anything. What action are we going to take against the non-implementation of deployees? That is one thing that we also highlighted as a commission, that the ANC has great policies that everybody approves of, but at times when ourselves as deployees go to government, we tend to forget because of whatever challenges that we might be experiencing or interest. But we said it is high time that the ANC calls the shots. We reaffirm the fact that the ANC is the center, and therefore every deployee must remember that, and we are the strategic center as the ANC. Thank you, Comrade Jackson. Every deployee of the ANC has to remember that at all times. If we fail as deployees, the ANC must hold us accountable. You might be asking yourselves, are we capable of holding each other accountable? We are. Because right now, fortunately, we're going to a conference and we must articulate on the progress that we have made on the policies. But most importantly, we have taken a sober decision that we've got to make sure that we represent our people. Failure to implement the decisions that we have taken as the ANC in government, it then means that we have failed to provide credible services to our people. And that is one commitment that we have to the people of South Africa. On the youth radio station, Radio 2000, that was recommended by the Youth League in the previous conference, SABC has said they already have True FM, which is a youth radio station. Radio 2000 is still functioning in a way that it was. I would leave the other questions for Comrade Jackson, but if I were to talk on the support of funding for small media, both commercial and community, we have re-emphasized that government has to support them, not just through MDDA, but the adverts, everything that we do, marketing and everything that we do with media, those must be supported by government. We had initially proposed 30%, and now the Commission went further to say actually it has to go beyond 30% so that they can be sustainable. But one of the challenges that had led to most community media not being able to play that meaningful role is the issue of capacity because of the instability within their governance structures, of which we have tasked ICASA to make sure that they come up with a standardized long-term framework that will help the community media be able to be sustainable. Comrade Zizi, I will hand over to Comrade Jackson.
Through you, let me start with one issue that has troubled us greatly in the Commission: community media support. You know, Thabo, you will know as I know that what we do, we give community media as government the startup. And that's where we end. As to what happens to their everyday programming, what are the costs that are inherent to their everyday programming, what are the costs that they need to put into their content, including staffing, operational costs. All those things we are saying as the Commission, as the ANC, government, you can't create something and leave it to its own devices. Because unfortunately, that's why some of the community media have been captured by big business. As we speak, yes. Some have, because of these funding difficulties, they have now gone to other people that I won't mention by name, lest I be sued. And that's where they are getting their funding from. And therefore, even their mandate has since changed because the funder always pays the piper or something to that effect. I'm not that good in English. So you have many of some of our community media that has now gone to be funded by well-established media houses, which was not the original intention. The original intention was that community media must serve this community. And that mandate has now been messed up by, amongst others, our inability to give proper support to community media. We are saying we must do so. And therefore, in the run-up to the national conference, because all these things that we are saying now are just recommendations. Is the national conference that will say, how do we do it? But in the run-up to the national conference, between us and our government, we must say, what is the mechanism of giving this support? We agree with you. There's a lot that we need to do. The BLF is not our organization. We can't speak on their behalf. But one thing that we will not agree with them is to go to any South African's house and threaten that person, even if that person is a journalist. More particularly if that person is a journalist. Because you are then saying our journalists in South Africa should not carry certain news. They must carry news that are favorable to you. You know, you write many stories that we don't agree with, but rest assured, we will defend your right to write those stories as ANC. That we will do. That's what we will do. Where we disagree with you, we will go to your ombudsman, and where we think that the effectiveness of the ombudsman and the press council is called to question, we will say, can't we take this to Parliament and discuss this? And that's what we're saying. In relation to the regulatory matters as they relate to print media, we have not changed. You'll remember that under the stewardship of Chief Justice, the late Langa, we had the Freedom Press Commission, which did wonderful work at the insistence of the African National Congress, by the way, because it was the media owners and the media editors who then said that seemingly the ANC has a point. But as we sit here, we are saying we don't think that enough has been done to deal with the grievance of our people at the ANC in relation to the accountability of print media. That's all that we're saying. And we are not saying, Karima, what then should be the modalities of holding print media accountable. We are saying we have a parliament that all of us have voted for. And in 2012, we came with a resolution as the ANC that the Parliament of the Republic must take forward this discourse. Is independent regulation the way to go, or is self-regulation the way to go, or what we have now termed after the commission, co-regulation the way to go? That's what we're saying. And we will come and make our own input in the media inquiry. What the commission has said is that that media inquiry must happen now. That's what the commission has said. You will come and make your own input. If you believe that this is the best thing that has ever happened to South Africa's self-regulation, by all means. We don't believe so. And please respect our not believing so. If you believe after the advent of Chief Justice Langa's commission that co-regulation is the best way, and it was implemented correctly, that's the other issue. Whether what the commission recommended was implemented correctly. These are other issues, because there are other things that we're happy with that the owners and editors felt that must not be implemented. But that's another discussion for another day. But having said all that, where we sit now, we have not changed, Karima. We are still saying we will put our view on how we should hold print media accountable. Our view, all of us as South Africa. And there have been indications, by the way, that if Parliament can appoint the Human Rights Commission, for instance, if Parliament can appoint your independent electoral commission, amongst others, all these statutory bodies, Chapter 9 institutions, is it averse for us to think, now this is still at the level of thinking, of a body that looks at accountability of the media that is appointed in this manner, amongst others? Will we be too much against the media freedoms if we were to think along these lines? Now, I'm not advancing the ANC view. I'm just advancing what has been said when we're meeting with everybody. You know, after we produced these documents, Comrade Zizi and Comrade Stella will agree with me that we met with many people, many, including people in the print media, including people in the broadcasting space, ICT space, and ordinary South Africans. Many of them raised this issue. That what is this thing you have in mind with this media tribunal? What is it? How can you, what is the characteristics of this? We don't know. But all that we are saying, as we sit now, including some people in the media space, some who were journalists in the media space, argued that the regulatory regime is not conducive for a democratic South Africa that comes from a colonialism of a special time. They argued strongly that as South Africa we need not to close our mind to something different. Indeed, ultimately, Karim and others, we might arrive at the same conclusion maybe, at safe regulation or whatever terminology, as long as all of us are satisfied that this important estate called, comrades will remember and colleagues will remember what happened in London the other day, what other media houses did there, and what the government did, by the way. So that we don't forget what has happened in other nationalities and other countries. But all that we're saying, we respect you. We respect media freedoms. It's us who crafted, in fact, who were the main movers of this constitution. There is nobody in that parliament, fortunately I'm the chief whip there, nobody in that parliament that has said we must come with some recommendations that must change that aspect of our constitution that talks to media freedoms. Nobody. Nobody has said so. And the ANC will be the last organization. In fact, it's us who fought for media freedom. Will be the last organization to say that there must be no media freedom in this country. That's why the BLFs of this world do not belong to the ANC stable. They will never be. They can't be. You can't be threatening journalists. If you have got a different view from what they are writing, of course, there is something in the media space that is called a right to reply. Make use of that right to reply. If you think that you have been perhaps done in deliberately by whoever who has written whatever piece, there is at the moment a press council. There is an ombudsman. Therefore, those are the things that are available, avenues that are available to you. But there is nothing that says that you must go to a journalist's house and do these silly things that they've been doing. We condemn them in the extreme, and in our view, we call them intimidation, and where we stand, intimidation is a criminal act. They must be arrested immediately. So, colleagues, that is our view on this matter that you have raised. ANC leaders speaking in different tongues, these are the issues that we started with. As ANC, we must find the nucleus of our existence so that we continue to speak in accordance with what we were born for, not what we come across in our everyday lives. We were born to be of service to our people. We were born to ensure that South Africa is changed into a united, non-racist, non-sexual, non-sexist, prosperous, and wonderful country. And that's what we were born to be as the African, to champion the cause of the National Democratic Revolution. Unfortunately, there are these things that have divided us in taken root and have derailed of what we were born for and what we are and what we stand for as the African National Congress. And that's why, as we started, we said, we must remove all those things that are called subjective weaknesses and subjective factors, so that the message of the ANC should stick to bettering the lives of our people. Our policies should stick to bettering the lives of our people. Our behavior should speak to bettering the lives of our people. Nothing else. Not factions in the ANC, not disunity in the ANC, not disunity in the broader movement, in the alliance, but all of us, without exception, stick and speak to bettering the lives of our people. Unfortunately, we have off-ramped from that message because of all our subjective weaknesses. We have dealt with those weaknesses here in the past 2 days. And the NEC will continue. We have the capacity to deal with those subjective weaknesses so that we come back in our narrative and in our messaging to a message that resonates with our people, to a message that says, what are the steps we are taking to better the lives of all peoples of South Africa? I think I've answered all these questions.
You have addressed all of them, Jaga. We will now break for lunch. There is some agents that we meet at 2. ETC is ready. Those of you who thought ETC will take the whole day, it is ready. But I would think let's resume at 2 o'clock. We break for lunch, we resume exactly at 2 with ETC. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
I can't believe it. ETC is ready.
Yeah, ETC is ready. Yeah.
Oh my God.